You guys, if you are just joining us for the replay, welcome to the Larson Master Agency Huddle. Today is September 10th, 2025, and I get the pleasure of introducing you to one of my good friends and an absolute rock star leader here at Symmetry. Sierra Simonds. And it's funny because I had messaged her mentor and asked for a little introduction on Sierra. And Craig had sent me back something as if I was going to speak it, but I'm going to read it from the perspective he wrote it because I think it's kind of fun. But I want to introduce you to one of the most relentless, inspiring leaders in symmetry. Her journey didn't start off easy. In fact, she went her first 3 months without making a sale, but she kept investing in leads, kept dialing 200 to 400 times a week, and believed that this business could change her life. She even took a leap of faith and quit her full-time job before making a sale. Craig McManaman said he would never forget January 4th, 2023, just 3 days after she went full-time here. She had a tough appointment where the client literally hung up on her. She called him in tears, ready to quit. He missed the call, and when he called her back 45 minutes later, she said, "I'm glad you didn't answer because I was calling to quit." Put it to in the comments if you've ever had that moment where you wanted to call your mentor and say, I'm done. I'm calling it quits." Yeah, I think a lot of us can maybe relate to that at one point or another. That's not where this ends, though. But instead of quitting, she pulled up her big woman pants, and the very next day, she wrote her first $5,000 in sales. That moment became the spark of something incredible. In the next 3 months, she hit Slingshot back to back to back, became an agency owner in 11 months, and just recently climbed to the 125% commission level. She now has 3 agency owners on her team and delivered a groundbreaking, earth-shattering 10-minute speech on the hub stage at conference. If you were there, you know what we're talking about. She's more than a leader. She's a chain breaker, a fighter, and living proof of what happens when you refuse to give up. She said it herself many times before. "I made the best bet there is in this business. I bet on myself." Please help me welcome Regional Agency Director, Sierra Simonds, and my good friend and leader and woman that I look up to
Oh,
so much.
I
And
don't know
Craig,
how I was supposed to talk after that. I'm
I
like,
know, I know. I'm sorry. I should have warned you about that. And Craig, thank you so much for sending over that introduction because, man, Sierra, you are someone that um, you are just a leader of leaders. So
oh,
thank you for being you. Yeah, have some water. We know the running joke about the water. Glad you have that there. Um,
thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
yes. Well, Sierra, after that introduction, before we really dive in, I would
Mhm.
like you to kind of just tell us a little bit more about yourself, how you found symmetry, walk us back to where you were at in life. What
Yeah.
were you doing that had you think life insurance of all things?
Yeah. 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 So I started in October of 2022. Um, I was looking for really just more time freedom, like most people are. I was working about 55, 60 hours a week as an inventory specialist at a hardware store. And I had no time to be a wife, no time to tend to my home, no time to be involved in my church the way I felt called to, or really anything that I felt called to in that season of my life. So I did what most people do, and I started doom scrolling on Craigslist looking for a new opportunity. And I came across a super scammy ad, had all these emojis, was talking about time and money freedom, and you didn't need any experience. And I was like, oh, this is too good to be true. It's got to be a scam. Let's apply. And so I met my mentor, Craig McManaman, and he just kind of word vomited all the amazing things about symmetry. And I was like, dude, I get it. You like your job. Like, tell me the hard stuff, right? Like, tell me what you hate. And he shared a few things that I just felt like I could deal with. So I jumped in head first. I got licensed in like a week and a half. And the rest is just, you heard it. I really struggled. I jumped in, uh, gave it my all, and I still couldn't make any sales to like save my life or pay any of my bills. And I was the breadwinner at the time, so that was really, really scary for us. And so I thought, you know what, maybe if I just quit my job and have more time for this business, then I can do something with it. So 2 months in, I quit my job before I ever made a sale. Nothing in my business, not one thing told me that that was a wise or good decision. And it took me another month to make a sale. Even then, I left in December, like the beginning of December, and I still couldn't make anything work for me. I would like make sales, but then they would get declined, and then I wasn't good at pivoting. And so then I would just lose the sale, and it was just like one thing after another. And so, like he said, yeah, it was January 4th, I called him crying, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Is it because of my hair? Like, I was like, I don't know why I'm not making sales. Like, why is nothing working for me? And if I can't make money this month, I can't pay my rent. So I'm gonna have to go back to a W-2. And he's like, don't give up, Sierra. Like, don't quit. You're right there. And he was like, it's like that guy who's like, digging for gold and he's like right there, but he gives up and walks away. He's like, that's you. Like, you're right there. Like, do not give up. And he was like, I believe in you. And I'm like, okay, dude, if you believe in me, like if you believe in me, then I guess I can try and keep going. And then the next day I made my first like 5 sales, and the rest is just kind of history. I think I did like 18,000 that month, and that was back in the slingshot bonus. So I took home a $6,000 bonus check that month and paid off all my family's debt. And it's just like that's how quick this business can change for you. You know what I mean? So yeah, now we're here. We're running it's been 3 years. We're running a $3.5 million agency, and we're just looking for people who want to build something meaningful. So
Casually just drops you guys. She's building a $3.5 million agency in the course of a couple of years. And I think that really is something that people underestimate here, where you can go from struggling to pay your bills and in survival mode to truly helping other people get out of survival mode and into thriving. I mean, we kind of titled this call like survival to thrival or something. We were just yesterday, but I mean, really, how many of you in the comments like say, "Yup, me" or something if, you feel like no matter what you're doing, you're just kind of in survival mode still and just waiting for that point of the turning point. I think for so many people, that's where they kind of find themselves and they're like, "Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth it?" Um, so, I mean, Sierra, for you, your story really is one of perseverance, overcoming, but also becoming. And in the beginning, what would you say your biggest obstacles at that point really were? And how did you kind of overcome those? And how did they really shape you with the journey that you're on at this point today?
man, I would have to say my biggest obstacle in the beginning was belief in myself. I mean, honestly, sometimes that's still my biggest obstacle. I think that we all just kind of have a natural like downward bias towards ourselves. I mean, that's why you see things like the plastic surgery industry like booming all the time, because everybody just kind of has this natural like downward bias towards themselves. And I wasn't immune to that. And I talk a lot about how before Symmetry I never really tried at much. I was always so terrified of fear, like or terrified of failure. Failure for me meant love would be rescinded from me. Um, I would be loved less if I failed. And so I only did things that I was really good at. I stayed in my lane. I knew what I'd be good at. I never really challenged myself. And that was fine for me for a very long time. And when I came to Symmetry, I was just in a season of my life where um, I was like, you know what? I really want to know what I'm made of. Like, I want to know what I'm capable of. And we can talk about that season as well. But I think what helped me get past it is just recognizing that if I failed at this, then I would never try at anything ever again. Like this was the first time that I was like, I'm gonna put myself out there and I'm gonna see if I'm like worth something. And I'm gonna see if I'm capable of something, doing something bigger than myself or something really great. And if I had failed, then I know that I would have just lived a mediocre life for the rest of my life. I never would have tried again. And so I had to make it. I had to because I couldn't live that way. So
I mean, it's almost like a mic drop. How many people also feel that feeling of, am I worthy? Am I capable?
Mhm.
Am I able? Who do I think I am? You know, you
Yeah,
look around, especially depending on where you grew up, how you grew up, the environment you grew up, like all of the things that are comfortable and normal pull you
yeah,
and push you to say, how dare you want more?
yeah.
Why can't you be happy? Why do you think you're worth something better? I know for me, you guys, that's something I've struggled with my whole life. But I felt inside of me that feeling of, no, there is more. I am worth more. There is something else. I don't have to settle for the feeling that everyone else does. And I mean, Sierra, for you, it really speaks to, okay, you came up against that. You had those same feelings. That's not something that individually each of us are unique to. So, you really are living proof that you can get to the other side of it and you can become more and you are worth more and you are worthy of love, whether you fail or not. But
Yeah.
that being said, you didn't fail. Why do you
Mhm.
think you didn't fail?
Um, I think that it just every day, every time I wanted to quit, I came up against that decision. You know, it's like, who do I want to be? What kind of woman do I want to be? What kind of leader do I want to be? Um, you know, the same time that I was looking for a new position, was also the a time in my life that I was really struggling with. My husband and I, we've been married for almost 11 years, and we've always struggled with infertility. And I mean, it's been something that's been on my mind for at least 10 years, right? But in that season, 3 years ago, I was really struggling with it. And we were really having conversations around, IVF or adoption and fostering. And um, so I was thinking a lot about what kind of mother I want to be, like what kind of legacy do I want to leave for my future child, for my future daughter, right? Like, do I want to leave a legacy of when it gets really hard, I just give up? Or when I have an opportunity to really like put in the work and figure out what I'm really made of, I walk away from that? Or do I want to leave a legacy of overcoming and breaking chains and thriving, right? Despite all odds, or in spite of all odds, like figuring it out and thriving. And so it was just reminding myself. I mean, that's why we say that you have to have a why big enough to cry about, right? It's like when you're really struggling and you're really in those moments where it's like, I don't think that I'm going to be able to do this. Like I might just have to quit, because the January of 2023 was not the only time I wanted to quit. I also wanted to quit in like May of 2023, and like October and December of 2023, and like April of 2024. And so there's going to be so many seasons of your life where you're like, man, this is for the birds. Like I think I'm going to quit. But you have to have something outside of yourself that's reminding you, no, I've got to make it through this. Like I don't have a choice but to figure this out, right? And honestly, we don't have something like that in our life, whether it's symmetry or whether it's I don't know, LuLaRoe or whatever, building your own business. Like if we don't have something that's like dragging out the best in us, then we're just gonna die. Like we're gonna shrivel up and just die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what kind of existence is that? You gotta stop me. I'll talk in circles, girl.
No, and please do, because I think a lot of people too, and I hope you guys, like Sierra and I, and we did talk yesterday and just like, what do we even want to talk about really? And I think so many people think that they have to show up in a way that's not them. I think it's really easy, especially in this agency, you guys, and Sierra, your agency too. I mean, you're surrounded by people that just go so fast, they go so quick, they go so big. And sometimes you look around and you're one of those people. And I mean, to an extent in the beginning, I was too. And I think it really is easy to compare yourself and say,
Yeah,
like, I don't speak like Jim Larson does. I'm never going to be able to do what he does. I don't have the ability to teach in the way that Sarah Reineke does. Like, how am I? So in terms of like comparison, was that something you struggled with at all? Like, comparing yourself to other people, other leaders, and if that is like, especially in the beginning and while you were up and coming and in that season of becoming, um, was there something in particular that helped you kind of get through that? And maybe for the people that are struggling with the looking around and seeing
Um,
everyone else winning when you're not, what would you say to those people that are kind of in that struggle right there of
oh man.
comparison?
I don't know that I've fully overcome this struggle myself, if I'm being transparent. This business will teach you how to clap for others really, really quickly, right? I mean, you guys all know Angel Trinkle. That's my one of my best friends in this business. That's my running buddy, my sister. And we have both been really similar in our journeys for a very long time. Up until last year when I had a really hard year and she had a booming year. Like, oh my gosh, her agency blew up. And it would be so easy for me to say, man, I'm just not as good as Angel, right? Um, and or so easy for me to become bitter or frustrated, or like start blaming the system or whatever. But instead, we got to learn to see her joy, her success, and be able to clap for her and be excited for her because it doesn't mean that I can't be successful. Somebody else being successful, somebody else being able to teach, somebody else having charisma like Craig. Okay, Craig has Craig's charisma. I'm never going to have that. I'm never going to have his energy, right? I'm never going to be a vision caster like Craig is. Or watching people show up for their leaders at Engage, watching Angel's team show up for her the way they did. I'm like, wow. Like, I wonder if I lead the way that she leads. Like, if I'm able um to capture that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Following, you know what I mean? Or like, do I have that kind of influence on my people? And so I think long story short, I don't know that I can answer that question because it's something that I'm struggling with right now. It's like I go through those things all the time. Man, I have agents on my team that are way better producers than me, Brett Beaudry. Okay. It's like, am I going to be able to produce like Brett? Am I going to be able to, you know what I mean? But I think all we can do, Amber, is every day find ways to love ourselves more, right? It's like if I'm keeping promises to myself and I'm loving myself and I'm um, constantly reminding myself of my own worth and my own value, then I can't help but to lead from that position because the more we sit in the, oh, I wish I could do this, I wish I was more like this person, I wish I had this kind of agency, the more we sit in that, the more we lead from that spot, right? And the less we become like those people that we look up to.
Yep. No, and that's absolutely true because ultimately your strength is your superpower and ultimately your people just want to hear from you and have you be you and help. If you're not being you, you're not going to be able to help them become the best them or the
Yeah.
next them, the better them,
Yeah.
the bigger them. And that's ultimately I think what we're all, if you want better, you got to become better. If you want bigger, you got to become bigger. I mean, I want to say that's a Danny Young quote, but I know it's John Maxwell, but we hear DY say it so much, that's immediately my brain goes, that's a DY quote. No, I don't think it is. It's not even worth the word, but
Everything's a DY quote.
I know he just king of one-liners, but I mean, really, ultimately, too, thank you for sharing that and that perspective because I think also it is helpful for people to hear. You're going to go through different seasons of this business where there's different learning curves. You're learning to be a good producer, you're learning to keep people on the phone, you're learning to get them to even show up to their appointment, you're learning to close them. So really, just even in the learning curve of leadership too, and just ultimately it just comes down to you. And on
Yeah.
the other side of you growing you is where you're gonna have ultimately, the biggest breakthrough. Kind
Yeah.
of speaking of breakthroughs, I want to go back to the beginning a little bit again. Um, I think for most agents, one of the biggest hurdles in that beginning is breaking through the learning curve and becoming profitable. I know you didn't make your sale for the first 3 months. Put a 3 in the comments if you would have quit if you didn't or still haven't made your first sale in the first 3 months. Yeah. I mean, we got a handful of them. I mean, I'm gonna put my own three in the comments because especially in the beginning, where's the proof, right? Where's the proof? I'm buying leads, I'm calling the leads, I'm following the script, but it hasn't happened yet. I think it's really hard to lean into that. So, if what would you say to the people that are maybe in the beginning and looking at like, how do I get to that next point? How do I get profitable? How do I go from, buying leads and getting them on the phone to really just that learning curve? I mean, talk about system a little bit, talk about for you, what was the most helpful thing in the beginning for you to go from not making a sale, not making a sale, not making a sale to all of a sudden writing 18,000.
I used to have this sign. I should print it out again. I think I still have it, but I used to have this sign. I made it on Canva or something and I printed it and posted it and it just said wild blind faith. Like not just faith and not just blind faith, but wild blind faith. Like you're crazy. Like, right? Like you're a psychopath to believe that much or to have that much faith. And I just had to keep reminding myself of that because a lot of people ask me that, like, what systems did you have? What did you track? The reality is I didn't track a lot in the beginning. And it's funny because I'm about to teach a like a call tomorrow on measuring your metrics and tracking what matters in your first 90 days. But a lot of people, what happens is they track how much they're spending on leads, but they're not tracking the calls they're making. They're not tracking the amount of contacts and appointments they're getting. They're not tracking whether or not they checked in with their upline that week, right? So they're tracking the things that they think are going to give them control and peace, like how much money I'm spending. If I had looked how much money I had spent on leads before I made my first sale or my first commission came through, I would have quit, man. I would have quit. And actually, I think I did at one point. I texted Craig and I was like, I don't know what to do. I spent like $1,500 on leads and I haven't made a sale. But that was like a month before I made my first sale. So
Yeah.
I was just buying leads there every time. I don't know what to do. It's not working. Craig, buy more leads. Okay. Craig, dial 50 times. I'm going to dial 100. Craig, Sierra, set 6 appointments or 8 appointments, 10 appointments. I'm going to set 15 appointments, right? Whatever my mentor told me to do, I'm going to do more than that. And I'm going to figure out a way to make his belief in me worth it. Like, cause he's taken the time out of his schedule to answer my calls and answer my text messages and to call me and spend an hour on the phone to talk me off a cliff, right, and tell me he believes in me. I'm going to damn well make sure that I'm doing whatever it takes to make sure that that belief wasn't in vain. Okay. And so I think that for me, it's I didn't have a system. I just put my head down and I did what my mentor told me to do, and I doubled it or I tripled it, whatever it took to get those appointments on the board and get in front of people. And then when I failed, I cried. I cried a lot.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. It's funny though, but if you want to call yourself out in the comments, how many of you go back to your mentor and cry, but you did less than what they say to do?
yeah,
If your mentor told you to set 10 appointments, you set 8 and you come to them crying, whose responsibility is that? And I think where, you said you didn't really have a system per se, but you kind of did. The system was following your mentor. The system was
yeah,
your mentor guiding you and telling you what the system was. So in your mind as a new agent, I think everything is so you're drinking from a fire hose. It's overwhelming. There's things coming at you from all direction. You're learning and trying to figure out what's where, what's opt, what's SFG quotes, like what is all of this stuff. And you just don't really realize that the more you lean into your mentor and the more you plug into the training calls they're suggesting you get on, and the more you plug into GroupMe or WhatsApp, whatever you use, and the more that you just keep showing up in the way that they're telling you to show up, that's
yeah,
the system. And I think
yeah,
so many people try to cheat the system and cut corners and do just enough to keep them exactly where they're at or like exactly little enough to really break through. So what you just said there, I mean, I think it's so simple, you guys, because all she did was trust her mentor and have that blind faith. And I think a lot of people also, when they come from a W-2 world or maybe whatever background you come from, it's weird to trust someone as blindly as you need to here with your mentor.
Oh, yep.
Um, but I know for
But
me,
you know what though? When we're going to the doctor and our doctor says, like, we've never met this person, like I'm a new patient establishing a new doctor, never met this person, and he's saying, oh, you should do X, Y, and Z to be healthier, I'm gonna automatically believe him and do what I can to meet that, because he's the expert, he's the one that's been there, done that, gone to school, he makes really good money because he knows what he's doing, right? Or today, me and Nathan met with a realtor today to talk, look at buying a home, right? And she's like, listen, I'm like, this is what I want. Boom, boom, boom. And she's like, listen, that's a little unrealistic. And she's like, you're not going to want to do this, Sierra. I know you want to do this, but don't do this. I mean, you can do this if you want to, but
yeah.
I'm going to tell you why it's not wise. And I had to look at her and say, you're the expert. I will do whatever you tell me to do. Right. And speak of the devil. Yeah. I will do whatever you tell me to do. Right. And so, when we come here and we have a mentor, and this person has been there, done that, they're successful, they're making money at this, they're doing all the things, right? Or even if they're brand new and they're still figuring it out too, but the person they're following has been there, done that, is successful, is making money, why would we not say they're the expert?
Yep.
I'm going to do what they tell me to do, and then we'll figure it out. First, I'm going to do what they tell me to do. But it's the agents that come here and they're like, I'm not going to do what they tell me to do. I'm going to do what makes me feel comfortable. You're exactly where you're at because you've kept doing what makes you feel comfortable. It's not working, friend. Like, it's not working. Like, do something different, right?
Yep. Do something different because again, should we pull out the Dannyisms again? Because if you want different, you got to become different. If you want different, you got to do different. I mean, it all comes down to you though at the end. And yeah, in the beginning, you don't know anything. You are a baby bird. You cannot fly, you cannot feed yourself, but what you can do is rely on your mentor to bring you food and really show you. And I say food, you guys, they're not going to do the work for you, but they're going to show you where to go. They're going to show you that you go to HQ and then you go to Summit. They're going to show you that you plug into this, that, and the other call, and that's where you're going to learn how to get to the next level. uh,
Yeah.
so, no, I mean, that's a really good point, though. And I mean, we can even tie that back to you as a producer. How many times do people let people, as the agent, let their clients tell them? If you were a client, you would not be going into your doctor saying, I need you to prescribe me this. You got to have the doctor posture when you're working with your clients and your leads that no, I am the expert. And even those medical students that are like in there, what is it called when you're not quite a doctor yet, but you're in the training
Like
program?
residency.
Like a residency, they're not technically, they don't know everything. They have not been around the block entirely. But guess what? You as a patient don't go into a resident doctor and say, this is what I want, this is what I need. So, even having the posture when you are an agent too, even if you're brand new, you went through that licensing course and you already know more than more than
Yeah.
the person on the other side of the phone that saw an ad for 200,000 for 19.99 a month and that's what they want. You already know more than them and you can posture yourself to be that expert. So just kind of an interesting segue too, just from the trusting your mentor point and following the system. We do have also a lot of new agents on here, but we do have quite a few people also that are working on their next promotion, working to get to the next level. But maybe you're finding themselves kind of like just stuck up against a brick wall a little bit. Like it just what they're doing isn't working, obviously, but they're still stuck. What would your advice be for them?
Um, I think that I mean, it's kind of similar to a new agent. It's like when you are, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. When you're feeling stuck and you're hitting a wall, it's usually because there's something in you that you're not wanting to change. You're not wanting to grow. Or if you're, even if you're not like stuck, even if you're having the same conversations over and over again. Like, oh, five different agents came to me, we had the same exact conversation about, our relationship, or I'm getting in the same arguments like all the time with my spouse or whatever the case may be. It's like when you're coming up against a wall and you're constantly like hitting that same thing, it's something I believe it's something within us that needs to grow and change, right? And so I guess just do that deep work, like ask those questions to yourself, like what is it in me that I'm not wanting to let go of, that I'm wanting to stay in the comfort zone, right?
Mhm.
Because that's the comfort is the enemy of growth. Isn't that the term? I'm not good with these quotes, Amber, but
No,
comfort is the enemy of like of growth or something like that. It's like you want to grow, you want to not be stuck, then get uncomfortable. Force yourself to be uncomfortable. I tell my agents all the time, when they're asked to do hard things, you're going to say yes every time. Like you don't get to say no to scary things. It's okay to be scared. Do it anyways.
yep. What would you say for the people? I mean, besides just saying yes and doing it scared, I mean, what resources would you point people to or suggest for as a starting point for them for getting through that? Like, what is the quickest way to get comfortable getting uncomfortable?
Ask your team about your leadership and your upline about your leadership. There's oh my goodness, what's that book? I'd have to find it, but there's a book where it says send five people above you and five people below you, and ask them to scale your leadership and your skills and your communication and stuff like that. And I did that about a year and a half ago. I reached out to Chris Leak and Craig McManaman and Angel and agents on my team, and I had them rate me as a leader, and some of them came back good. I think because people are just uncomfortable telling you hard truths about yourself. And others were not uncomfortable telling me hard truths about myself. But that was uncomfortable for me because you get to say, I'm exposing myself, like tell me what you think, right? And is it the slight edge? It might have been. I read it like a year and a half ago. I want to say it was a John Maxwell book, though I could be wrong. Um, but yeah, I would just reach out to like five people above you and five people below you and say, hey, can you rate me like on a scale of 1 to 10 on my leadership ability, on my production skills, on my activity, on my communication skills? And then whatever they say, take it. Take it at face value. Jim Larson responds to you or Amber Pearson responds to you, and they're like, actually, you need to communicate better, or actually, you need to show up more, or actually, you should be waking up at 6 a.m. to go to the accountability call. That's me.
Us West
Uh,
Coasters know
yeah.
6 a.m. comes really early out here, but
Yeah,
we're still there every day.
that one's me. Then take it at face value and run with it. I think that's a great starting ground because we're never going to fully judge ourselves correctly, right? We have to get outside eyes on it.
Yeah. And I mean, even
Yeah.
for even for myself, like I know that I'm my own worst critic in the sense that I have a really hard time acknowledging. I have a hard time, if, for those of you that have heard people talk about the gap and the gain. If you have not read that book, it's actually next on my list. It's getting delivered to my house tomorrow. But if you have not read that book, it's apparently the one you need to read if you have a hard time recognizing how far you've come from where you were, because I think that exercise
Mm,
is kind of speaking to that too, Sierra. Like, I know for me, I am my own worst critic, and I am the last person to talk about the good things that I do or the strengths that I have. So, also, that exercise can be used almost in the other way, where you're also getting where you are doing well and recognizing where you
oh
have
yeah.
grown to from where you were. Because especially you guys, the longer you're in this business, you're going to realize that the mentorship that we have here, people are in it for the people. And people just want to see you win. And you're going to hear the saying too, like your mentor's not going to make a dime until you make a dollar. That's the one.
Yeah.
So how cool is it that our system also is set up to where the bigger you grow, the better you get, like the more money you're going to make also because of the impact you're making too. Um, Kind of speaking to mentorship though and asking people below and above you, kind of for feedback. What does the role of association play in your development, in your day to day, in your business? What is
Oh
the
yeah.
significance and the impact, and what does that look like for you?
Yeah, association is one of, I mean, I know it's cornerstone number 4, but man, I would almost put that at number 1, nothing against our founders, because I think that if you're not associating, it's really hard to believe in yourself or
Yeah.
in the products or in the system. Um, Association like conferences, those are so important that I don't even mentor people that aren't going to conference. Like when you get licensed in my agency, when you get licensed, you go through like your AML, all that stuff, and then you have a game plan meeting with me. We go over like lead strategy, stuff like that. And then you do your first set of dials. I will not do a game plan meeting with an agent unless they have a conference ticket first. Point blank, period. Because I know that if they are not going to conference, then they're 85% more likely to not be here a year from now, right? That's the statistic, which
Yeah.
is just a nice way of saying if you're not going to conference, you're 85% more likely to fail at this business. And 85% likelihood of failure is not a good business investment on my part. That's if I'm being real, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm investing all my time and energy into agents who have an 85% more likely um, chance of failure instead of investing them in agents like Brett Beaudry, Bree Oriard, Vina May Manawis, right? Then
Yeah.
that's my agency is just not going to go anywhere. And so that's how important association is to me. If there's a boot camp within 2 hours of me, I'm going to be there. I've flown across the country to go to boot camps. Okay. Especially if I have agents and you can utilize, especially if you're building, you can utilize those boot camps. If I have
Yep.
agents in North Carolina and there's a rally boot camp, I'm going to go and I'm going to take my agents out and I'm going to spend a couple days. I'm going to pour into my agents in person, right? There's a boot camp in Cali, then I'm going to go and I'm going to pour into Brett or whatever the case may be. Like you can utilize these and leverage all the association you can. It's so important. I hope that answered your question.
No, it absolutely does. And even like our relationship, I mean, we connected because we were at an event and I think it was Craig. I was like sitting with you, Craig, and Angel, and like the four of us and Cree were just sitting around this table and like talking. And I'm like, I don't even know these people, but all of a sudden they're my best friends.
Yeah.
Uh, I
Yep.
mean, it speaks to it though, and like you just don't know who you're gonna meet and what's gonna be said at that event that's going to change the trajectory of who you are as a person and your business. So, I mean, some people might be sitting there being like, that's really harsh that she literally will not give me her time if I'm not committed to going to conference or an event.
Yep. And I mean, that can be harsh, but the industry is harsh too. Building a
Well, but
business is harsh. Entrepreneurship is harsh, right? So sometimes I'm probably one of the biggest lovers, but I'm also Chris Leak. So actually, when I asked him for feedback, he told me I was too blunt. So I'm a big lover, but I'm also really blunt. So
I mean, Kelly Bush says clear is kind. I mean, at the end of the
yeah,
day, letting someone know, statistically speaking, this is not, we're going off of facts, not feelings here, you guys. Statistically, facts speaking, the chances of survival a year from now, if you're not going to events, is 85% less likely you'll be here. So, I mean, just know that we're saying this not for our gain, our benefit. Believe it or not, your agency owners are not getting a commission for every agent they have going. It
yeah,
truly is like in your best interest for you to go. And I know for me, my first conference, I had been licensed maybe a month or two and was like, I literally don't even know what a term policy is. I'm just a girl. I don't know anything, but I went anyway. And I felt confused half the time I was there. But the feelings that were felt and the belief that I gained by going to the event and seeing people on stages and hearing stories that I could see myself in potentially growing into, you get the
mhm,
inspiration to think like, I knew I was crazy for coming and thinking that maybe this scammy Craigslist ad with all of the emojis is not too good to be true, but then you get there and you realize there's too many people there winning for them all to be paid
oh yeah.
actors. The people
And the
on
boot camp
the
is what got me to Symmetry, honestly. Like I had my meeting with Craig and I still thought it was a scam after my interview. Like I was like, this is still too good to be true. And so like a week later, I think there was a boot camp in Spokane like a week later. And so Craig's like, listen, just come to the boot camp. Like, we'll figure it out. Like, just come and see it. Like, please just come. And I'm like, okay, dude. And I almost didn't go, but I did. My husband's like, Sierra, it's a scam. Like, why are you going to that thing? You know it's a scam. And so I go alone and I meet everybody. I meet Craig, I meet Chris Leak, Darren Stubbs, Steven Jackson, right? And I get to shake hands and hug people, and I see that they're all happy and excited about this. And I get to hear their stories. I get to hear Steven Jackson talk about how he gets to write bigger tithe checks to his church. And I'm like, wow, that's all I've ever wanted. I want to help build my church. Like, that's my goal. That's one of my biggest whys is we are growing. We need to build another church. And so hearing them talk about how they are being blessed and can then go be a blessing, that's what brought me to Symmetry, right? If this is working for all of them, I think when I first started, there was a lady who didn't know how to copy and paste on a computer and she's doing like 10K in APV. I'm like, if she can do it, I can do it. Like,
Yeah.
I can copy and paste.
It really is that though. You
So
get to events, and Jim always says, like, there are people dumber and lazier and not as smart as you winning really big here. You guys, this woman didn't know how to copy and paste. We work in digital insurance products. Like, if
yeah,
she can do it, you can do it. I mean, if
she was
anything,
killing it.
like, you get to events and realize all of a sudden, wait a minute, all of these people, you look around, you're like, they're pretty normal and they're making a lot of money per month and they're doing
Yeah.
really well, right? Um, I love that. I mean, we're wrapping up on time here a little bit, but we kind of talked about, all right, getting to events, whether it's conference or boot camps, what be it is a non-negotiable, really, bottom line for you with your agents. As an almost 130, you've seen a lot of people come and you've seen a lot of people go. What green flags have you learned to kind of identify and look for in agents, and what expectations and standards do you set for the agents wanting your mentorship?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I'm gonna come back to the green flags. I gotta think about that for a second. Expectations, though, I mean, I don't think that I have a lot of expectations. They have to have a ticket to the next conference because the next conference tickets always come out right after the previous one. So they have to have that. They have to do 3 apps day one. You have to have a standing lead order. If you don't have a standing lead order, then you're not fueling your business. And if you're not fueling your business, then you're not going to you're not going anywhere. Your car's going to die, right? So you have to have a standing lead order. To do that, you need 6 apps as soon as possible. So day one, they do 3 apps. They do one on themselves, one on their spouse, one on their kid, one on their cousin Sue. I don't care. Like, find 3 people, 2 other people other than yourself to write apps on. And then the other 3, you can do that warm market, leads, a mix of both. That's up to you. But you got to find 2 other people to write apps on. I want you halfway to your slow on day one, like the day you get here. And that's really it. It's like, just fight for yourself, like, get to conference, whatever it takes. I think that's probably my green flag is whatever it takes. I want people who are sick and tired of where they're at. Like, there has got to be more. Like, people who are just like, this cannot be it for me. There has to be more. Like, somebody who's fighting for something, right? Like me, I had no experience. I had like I've heard Craig say like something he looks for is people who've won at something in the past. I'm like, man, if that was the criteria back then, I hadn't wanted anything. I don't feel like I succeeded at anything. And so I'm just looking for people who are willing to do whatever it takes, people who are fighting for something. Like, I hadn't succeeded at anything at that point, but I was fighting for how I saw myself. It's like
Yeah.
I hated where I was. I was so unhappy with the value that I had accumulated to myself, right? It's like I hadn't succeeded. I didn't amount to anything. I wasn't worth anything. And I was so sick and tired of feeling that way. It's like I said, if I had failed, I never would have tried again. And I refused. I
Yeah.
refused to be in a situation or a position where I was unwilling to try or bet on myself because I had failed. So, I mean, does that make sense? I sometimes ramble till I figure out what I want to say, but
But I mean, it makes complete sense. Ultimately, people that are willing to do whatever it takes, people that are going to show up bet on themselves and just make it happen. I mean, I think
Yeah,
we try to
exactly.
overcomplicate this business so much, just trying to find like the right CRM and the right leads and the right things, but ultimately just do enough of the right things for long enough and surround yourself with the right people and you're gonna win.
Wild blind faith, baby.
Wild
Wild.
blind faith.
Yeah.
I mean, you're this close to hitting gold when you're at that axe pick. I just think of that picture. What book is that from? I don't remember, but like you're hitting that wall and
Yep.
the gold's right here and you're this close, but you can't see that you're that close. You can't see
Hmm.
that you're that close until you hit it. And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden it feels like you're at a money buffet, another Dannyism. You're just at that money buffet because ultimately, I mean, when you learn, especially how to produce, I mean, when you learn how to produce, you buy leads and you're like, I know what this will turn into. You just know. You just know.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
well, Sierra, this has been so fun, so awesome. But before we go, I do have a couple of quick, fun, rapid fire questions for you. Uh,
Okay.
um, digital or analog?
Analog.
Salty or sweet?
Not fair.
Not
Both.
fair. Both. Flying or cruises?
Oh, is my husband here? Cruises. He's a
Europe or
pilot, so
Europe or Mexico?
I love cruises. I'll take a cruise over flying.
All right, fair enough. Well, you guys, that's all we got for you tonight. Sierra, I'm just very grateful for you to take the time tonight and kind of chat with us and share with us. You're so relatable and just
Thank you.
someone that's worth embodying and following ultimately.
Thank you.
Whether, I mean, as a friend, as a leader, as a human being, I am just very grateful to have you in my life and as a leader in this company. And I love you. And
Thanks, sis. I'm
um,
blessed by our
for-
friendship too. I love you very much. Thanks for having me, guys.
yes, all right, you guys, this will be up on YouTube and we'll see you tomorrow, 6 a.m. accountability call or 9 a.m. if you're East Coast. Bye, guys.